Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back for part 2 of this week's Q&A. If you haven't watched the first one yet, then please do. It was uploaded yesterday for you. Thank you so much for all your questions. So many of them that I've had to split them into different parts this week because it would just be too long. I think yesterday's was about nearly half an hour long. And I didn't want to rattle on for too much longer and bore you all senseless. So I thought it'd be easier to split them into separate packages for you, make it slightly easier for you to all watch. Thank you once again for all the questions and the opinions that you sent in. I put out a message on my Twitter asking for these. My Twitter, if you don't know, is @Charles_Watts. And you've all replied bucket loads. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Like I said, you can watch the first part. It's already uploaded on the channel. And now this is part 2. So let's get cracking. This is about where I got up to yesterday was Mayo. Mayo says, which centre-back players Arsenal are targeting except Upamecano in this window? And can we expect player swap with Laka if Juventus is interested in? If yes, then who? Just in terms of centre-backs, the ones that I know that Arsenal are looking at, they are interested in Upamecano, as you mentioned there, but I think he's probably going to be too expensive. There's Malang, who is a free agent, obviously very appealing, used to play for Nice, that Arsenal have been speaking to about the possibility of coming to the Emirates, but they haven't offered him a contract. Arsenal at the moment, pretty much all contract offers and everything are on hold until the end of the season when they know they get a clear outlook of what their financial position is. And meanwhile, Malang Sarr's attracted interest from an awful lot of other clubs in Italy and in Germany. Torino, I know, are really pushing for him in Italy. And so whether Arsenal could get even sort of are in a position to even offer him a contract before he signed for a new club, I don't know. I have been told that he is waiting to hear from different clubs as well. He wants to get a big move this summer. And so despite the fact that clubs like Torino are pushing for him, he hasn't agreed anything yet. So he is someone they're looking at, and he's a free transfer, which for Arsenal would be very, very appealing. And Axel Disasi, another French young defender, probably available from Stade Reims for about 13 million euros. Again, attracting a lot of interest. Clubs in England looking at him. Southampton have been looking at him. Everton, Wolves, also lots of interest from abroad in him as well. He's another player they have been looking at, and Stade Reims are well aware that Arsenal are looking at him as well. So there are other options for Arsenal other than Upamecano. M. Brooks says, hi Charles, if you're missing out on the Europa League, do you think squad size becomes an issue? How do we give a squad of 25 enough playing time? It's very true. It's a big thing. I touched on it on yesterday's video when talking about the goalkeeper situation, how I don't see how you could keep both of those players happy if Arsenal aren't in Europe and one of them isn't playing in European games, because they could, feasibly only have 2 games a season if you're the cup goalkeeper and you get knocked out in the first round of both domestic cup competitions, and that's it. You're sitting on the bench for the rest of the season. So it will be an issue. Absolutely will be an issue. But hopefully, fingers crossed, Arsenal do qualify for Europe and it's not an issue we really have to think about. But certainly if they don't, then Arteta's going to have some real headaches in that regard. Carol said, most important question, can we win the FA Cup? Yes, we can. And what did she wear? Well, I think she wore a yellow ribbon, Carol. Abdullah, I'm not going to answer this, Abdullah, not because I don't want to, it's just because I answered it in yesterday's Q&A, so please do watch it. On that, it's just talking about the situation with Torreira. Said he's a good player, what's his situation, is he going to leave? And I went through all this yesterday, so please do watch yesterday's one rather than me going over it all again. Milan Magar says, what's your knowledge about reports linking us to Joelson Fernandes? He says he's represented by Kia. Yes, he is represented by Kia. It's an easy link to make, but if we sign him, we're getting a future Ballon d'Or winner in our hands. Big prediction there from Milan. Look, I can't see it. He is represented by Kia Drabshin, and as I mentioned before in yesterday's video about Coutinho, that makes the link. You can't rule anything out when Kia Drabshin's involved with Arsenal because of how close he is with Raul, because of how close he is with Edu, because of he is playing a significant role in Arsenal's transfer dealings in recent windows. But the money involved. You're looking at, he's got a £40 million release clause. Fernandes, he's 17. Arsenal don't have much money. Are they really going to shell out that sort of money to bring a 17-year-old to England? I just don't see it. So I would be stunned, Milan, if those reports are true. But as I said, because Kia Drabshin's involved, I wouldn't rule it out totally. But the finance involved, for me, everyone that I've spoken to, every agent I've spoken to, everyone I've spoken to at Arsenal, the same message comes back about their finances and what they might be able to do in this window. And so shelling out 40 million on a 17-year-old unproven player, I can't see it. Not for me. M10 with a picture of Mesut Ozil as his avatar says, "What's clear love? What's really going on with Ozil? Why everything changes after the break? Simple as that. For me. It's just that he's not proving to Arteta on the training pitch that he warrants a place in the team at the moment. And Arteta has shown, no matter who you are, you've got to do it in training, week in, week out, day in, day out. And Mesut Ozil clearly hasn't been doing that. He's had the back issue that the club have put out. He is back training at the moment. He's been training for a while. He wasn't involved at the weekend. This is being recorded before the Aston Villa game, this Q&A. I'll be heading up there tonight. Ozil was training yesterday on the Monday, so technically he should be involved today. I think Arteta's going to make changes as well for Villa because we only played Man City 48 hours ago at Wembley. So, if Ozil's ever going to be involved in the squad, it's going to be tonight's game. As I said, you're going to be watching this after the Villa game has taken place, so we'll know if Ozil played. If he doesn't play or doesn't make the squad, I think that tells an awful lot of the story about what's going on with Mesut Ozil at the moment. And he's just not doing enough to convince Arteta that he warrants a place in the squad. And unless you do that, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you want, it doesn't matter how much money you earn, you're not going to be in Mikel Arteta's squad. It's what he said, non-negotiable from the moment he walked through the door. That is his ethos, and if players don't live up to that, they don't feature. We've seen it with other players in the past. They've come back into the team eventually once they've shown Arteta, but at the moment Ozil hasn't done enough to find his way back into the squad. Simple as that. Anoy Gupta asked about Coutinho and Guendouzi's swap deal. I spoke about that yesterday in yesterday's one, so please do go back and watch that. But just briefly, I don't think it's likely, just given the finances involved. And why would Barcelona, as good as Guendouzi is, as promising as he is, and I know they're desperate to get Coutinho off the books, the wage bill still feels like they'd want money for that rather than just a straight swap. And he says, also, number 2 question, if we win the FA Cup and finish 7th, how the European qualifications will stand? If Arsenal win the FA Cup, then they qualify for Europe, simple as that. If Arsenal win the FA Cup and finish 7th, then it doesn't really matter about who finishes. If Arsenal finish 7th, because they win the FA Cup, then they're in Europe. What would be funny is if Tottenham finish 7th and Arsenal win the FA Cup, then Tottenham don't get into Europe. The only way 7th is the European spot is if Arsenal don't win the FA Cup. So if Chelsea win the FA Cup, because they're in the it looks like they're going to be in the Champions League, then it will only go to the Europa League spots will go down to 5th and 6th. So that would be quite funny. I was going to read this one out as a question, but it's not a question. It's just a nice comment from Connor about my video. So thank you very much, Connor. Appreciate that. Another one on Coutinho, Guendouzi. I'm not going to go over it again. John asked about Ceballos. I've already talked about that. I don't think it's going to be a permanent sign-in, John. I do think Ceballos might well come back now, but I think it's going to be a loan with an option to turn it permanent at the end of next season. Tom says, hi Charles, it looks like Bournemouth and Villa are going to go down. Do you think there's any interest in some of their players? Thanks, Tom. Not that I'm aware of. I know that Arsenal have looked at Nathan Ake in the past, but it looks like he's on his way to Manchester City anyway. I think it'd just be too expensive for Arsenal. There had been talks with, I don't want to go as far actually to say strong as talks, but Arsenal had been, keeping tabs on Nathan Ake, but everyone had for the last couple of years. But just be too out of favour. I really like Brooks as well at Bournemouth. I think he's a good player, but I don't think Arsenal will go for him. I think they've got decent players in that position anyway. So no, I don't think anyone's going to touch. No one from Arsenal is going to touch any Bournemouth or Villa players. I don't think. Sorry, I'm just trying to read this one. I'm not going to do that. I've already spoken about that one. Lots of questions about Ceballos, which I think showing how good he's been recently, and that's why so many fans are asking about Ceballos. But as I said, I've already answered those questions, so please do head back to my first video to find out on that. Coldtree says, in your opinion, if Coutinho joins us, will he be a flop? Later haunts us with a high wage. Well, look, I don't think Coutinho's going to join Arsenal on permanent. I don't think he's going to join on loan either. But if he did join on loan, he's not going to be. It's not going to be like Ozil's situation, because Arsenal would only be paying his wages for a year, or some of his wages for a year. So I don't think it's going to be so much an Ozil situation if he flops, as you say. I mean, I don't think Coutinho flop. I think if Coutinho signs for Arsenal next season, I think he'd do well. I know it hasn't worked out for him at Barcelona, but I think he'd do well at Arsenal. He knows what it takes to be a success in the Premier League. He's a very, very good player. I wouldn't be against Coutinho signing for Arsenal, but I just think it's very unlikely. Certainly permanent deal, but I don't think Coldtree he would haunt Arsenal with his high wages, just because I don't think it'd be a permanent deal. If it does happen, it'll be a loan. Berkshire Hunt says, any noise about Kroenke's reaction to Mikel's interviews? How likely will it be to see investment? Any slightly interested takers for Ozil? Well, Kroenke's not going to react to Mikel's interviews, and to be fair to Mikel, he has coming out and he's insisting that he's not been sending messages to the Kroenkes with his with his interviews in the media, talking about the need for investment. He also says that he can pick up the phone whenever he wants and call Kroenke. That's their relationship. So he hasn't been sending messages. In terms of slightly interested takers for Ozil, I mean, there's interest in Turkey. Fenerbahce, long-term admirers of Mesut Ozil, but just the wages make it almost impossible. So I still think Ozil's going to be staying around for another year. Hi Charles, please, what do you think would be the best formation next season if Arteta gets the bodies in he wants? I think it'd be 4-3-3. I still don't. I think the three at the back, the wing backs, is working pretty well at the moment. But I still think long term Arsenal need to have three people in the central midfield areas, given the way football is right now. And I imagine Arteta thinks the same. When he came in, he was very much playing four at the back, and I think he will go back to that once he gets players in. I think the reason he's gone to the five at the moment is because it suits the players he's got. It certainly suits David Luiz, but with the wing backs as well. So I think if Arsenal do get the players they want, if they get themselves a top quality midfielder, I think they'll go 4-3-3 next season. Chris says, Charles, any news on bringing in Thiago Silva and Willian on frees this summer, since Edu has a Brazilian connection? Thiago Silva, that's not going to happen. Willian, I really do think it's a possibility. Arsenal do like Willian. There have been discussions with Willian. Obviously, his career drafting, again, is his agent, which makes that one a very easy deal to do, or easier deal to do. Willian's hasn't signed for Chelsea because they're not offering him a 3-year contract. They're only offering him a 2-year contract. He wants 3. I think Arsenal will give him a 3-year contract if they can financially afford it, but we'll find out in the next couple of weeks once the picture becomes clear where they'll be playing next season. Willian loves London. He doesn't really want to leave, so it ticks the boxes just to walk across like David Luiz does from West London to North London. And I really like Willian. I think he's been fantastic for Chelsea in the last few weeks as well. Still got an awful lot about him. He's not slow either. I watched him at Wembley against Man United at the weekend, and just saw him streaking away on a counter attack, and you just think, he's still pretty quick for a guy in his 30s. I think his engine, he ticks all the boxes for Arteta in terms of his work ethic and his engine. So I think Willian is very much a possibility for Arsenal. I think it's one you'll have to look out for in the summer. The only issue is the wages. He's obviously he's well paid in Chelsea. He's going to be coming on, if he does go to a club, he's going to be joining on a free transfer, so he's going to want to see the benefit of that, given that the club is not going to have to be paying a transfer fee. Can Arsenal afford that? Can they, especially for an older player, will they take the punt? It's one that they're going to have to work out. It's one they're going to have to consider once they've got the clear financial outlook this summer. But I certainly think Willian is one to keep an eye on going forward. Oliver's asked loads of questions about Oliver. Please do go through my other videos. You'll get all the answers to them on that. You're talking about Partey, Coutinho, Joelson Fernandes, Ceballos. You also talk about Edouard up at Celtic. I mean, Edouard is a player that Arsenal like, but that would only be something that happened if one of the forwards left the club, and I know Celtic are trying to get him to sign a new contract at the moment, so I still think Edouard might be a difficult one, might not be one that would happen this summer. Kurt asked about Saliba. Could we see him in an Arsenal shirt before next season? No. We've only got 2 weeks left of the season, so that's not going to happen. He can't play for Arsenal this season anyway, but we'll certainly see him here in the summer and pre-season and getting ready for the start next season. He's been in London this week, in fact, William Saliba. So, I can't wait. Like you, I can't wait to see him next season. Tyler, what signings look most likely to be completed this summer? Are Goetze, Fraser and Willian in the mix, all out of contract? Willian, as I've said, yes, I think he is very much in the mix. Goetze, no. Fraser, last season, Arsenal were looking at him. He's not, as far as I've been told, one of the priorities now. I've talked about Partey many times. He's certainly the priority this summer. So I think that's one. Those are the ones you're looking at, and a centre back. Who that will be, I don't know, I'm afraid. Mohammed says we must sell Ozil, Kolasinac, Niles, Elneny, Socrates, Guendouzi, loan Nelson, Willock and Nketiah. He's not going to have any players left. Buy 3 top players like Upamecano, Partey, Coutinho, maybe Willian on a free. Otherwise, we will suffer for years. We get the gap getting bigger and bigger. I'm not sure about getting rid of all of those players. Certainly not loaning Nelson, Willock and Nketiah. I think they're going to be key players for Arsenal next season. So I don't agree with you there. But I do agree that they need to ship out some of the players if they can, like Ozil and Kolasinac and Elneny, Guendouzi. But I don't agree on Maitland-Niles either. I think he should stay. Cannon asks, is there a reason why Aubameyang hasn't signed a deal yet? If he's going to, when are we likely to get an announcement? I can't answer that. I have no idea. We don't know if he's going to sign yet. There's a reason he hasn't signed yet. Is because he hasn't decided. It's simple as that. And you're going to have to wait until after the cup final to find out what's going to happen with Aubameyang, because I think that's when Arsenal will really sit down and talk and try and decide one way or other what's going to happen with him this summer. Mikel Arteta's beard trimmer. Any truth to the rumours that KT isn't happy in London or at Arsenal? No truth in that whatsoever. He's really enjoying himself, and Arsenal absolutely love Kieran Tierney, so no truth in that. Don't want to go over and over again, so I'm just skipping through some of these questions now because I've already answered them. So please do head back to the part 1 of this video to find the answers to some of these. If I've not answered your one, it's not because I've ignored you, it's just because of the fact I'll be repeating myself over and over again. How close do you think Arteta's ideal playing style would resemble that of Pep's Man City? Says Ashutosh Kumar. I think a lot. I think he grew up, he's cut his coaching teeth with Pep. I think absolutely that ethos, that work ethic, that win the ball back as quickly as possible, win it back as high up the pitch as possible. We're seeing that at the moment with the goals Arsenal have been scoring from robbing the keeper of possession and pressing the defenders high. So absolutely, I think it is. He says he doesn't want to just copy Pep, but he's already admitted freely that Pep's ethos and his the sort of direction he wants to take his football club is very much going to be similar to that Guardiola, and it's understandable given how much time he spent with him. Is Cantwell to AFC happening? Says Om Shetty. I don't think so. No, not as far as I'm being told. I don't think it's just not one that Arsenal have been looking at. Arsenal Supporters Club. You ask about Maitland-Niles. Where do you think Mikel sees his future? There seems to be different messages about him. As far as I'm aware, Mikel wants Ainsley to stay. Ainsley is just having serious thoughts at the moment about, is he going to get enough game time? Is it the stage of his career where he needs to move on? Arteta wants to keep him. He showed again in the FA Cup final that he trusts him. So it's down to Ainsley Maitland-Niles really. Does he push for a transfer in the summer or not? We'll have to wait and see. I hope he doesn't. I think Maitland-Niles has got a lot to offer. I hope he stays. You also asked about Martinez. Will he keep his place at number 1? Can they keep both goalkeepers? I've answered that already, so I'm not going to go over that again, but please do watch the other videos to find out. Let's have a look. Sorry, few gaps here, but I'm just making sure that I don't miss anything. Du- 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 du. I think we're coming towards the end of this. Looking through these now, they're all pretty much ones that I've answered. So I don't want to go over and over again. Arsenal Fanatics News says, can Bruno Man United be retrospectively banned for diving and missing the FA Cup final? It's not going to happen. I'm afraid, as much as it'd be great if he was, so that Arsenal don't have to play with him because he's a fantastic player. But no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Oh, it's Kryptonian here says, is Santi Cazorla coming back to Arsenal as a player or assistant coach? No, he's not for now anyway. He's obviously joined Al Sadd over in Qatar, where Xavi is coach, so he's going over to play there for a while before he retires. Obviously left Villarreal this week. We asked Mikel about Cazorla and the possibility of coming back for a coaching role, and he says he hadn't spoken to him yet, but said that we'll wait and see what happens. Obviously they're very close. So I think it's entirely possible that we might see Cazorla come back in some sort of coaching capacity at some point. But for now, he's still playing football and he's just signed for Al Sadd, so it'll be a while off yet. AG Tiger says, Charles, not a question but a suggestion. Benrahma for left wing, Aston Villa relegated, Grealish would be cheap buy for number 10, lack of party swap. Grealish will not be a cheap buy even if Aston Villa get relegated. I really like Jack Grealish. I know he's got a few of his detractors, but I think Grealish is great and I'd like to see him as an Arsenal player, but he's not going to be cheap. Far from it, even if Aston Villa get relegated. Benrahma, left wing, I mean, he's been great for Brentford. Will he make the step up to the Premier League and be as good? Only time will tell. I don't think he's someone that Arsenal are looking at, especially with the emergence of Saka. It's just not going to happen. Chelsea, I've heard, for Benrahma is something that possibly might happen in the summer, but I'll have to wait and see on that. At Boy Scott says, who do you think would be the best addition to our team? I've gone through that before. I absolutely think it'd be Thomas Partey. I love the idea of him signing. I think he'd make a massive difference. Alex says, between Chelsea and Arsenal, there's a better quality in pitch. It's an odd one. I say Arsenal, Alex, but Chelsea's is fine. I just think the Emirates pitch is absolutely immaculate. So I'd go with Arsenal. Hashim says, why didn't the Wilfried Zaha deal happen? Just frankly, Arsenal didn't want to spend the money on it. Unai Emery wanted it to happen. Unai Emery wanted to sign him rather than Nicolas Pepe. But Arsenal went with Pepe. They got a much better deal. Crystal Palace wanted 8 million for Zaha. They had to pay 25% of their sell-on fee to Manchester United, which is why they weren't budgeted on that transfer fee, and Arsenal just weren't going to pay that. They went for Pepe, although he was 72 million. It was a much better looking transfer for Arsenal because it was staggered in instalments over 5 years, and so that's why Zaha didn't happen. Just flicking through, seeing if there's anything new that I can answer before. Dude, it's all Peng Mafia says, what's Holding's future at Arsenal? Interesting one, Rob Holding. He's playing more and more as a substitute at the moment, but I thought he's very hard done by, given how well he played against Southampton, that he didn't start. And I asked Arteta that after the Tottenham defeat, actually, and Arteta wasn't too happy with the question. But I think Holding, you're looking at next season, I think alone would do really good. I don't want to get rid of Rob Holding just yet. I still think he's a very good defender. I'd really like him to go out possibly and spend a season on loan somewhere next season. I think it'd be really good for him. Play regularly, desperately needs to do that after the injury. Just play week in, week out, get right back up to top level fitness. And if he does that, I'd like to see him come back this following summer and then really push for replacing the first team again. So that's my idea of Holding's future is a loan deal for Arsenal. But whether someone comes in and makes a really decent offer and they're tempted to do that this summer, we'll have to wait and see. Now, just going through these last ones here, I don't want to repeat anything. They're all about Ceballos, Coutinho, Guendouzi, Torreira. All questions that I've answered, all are asking about transfers and transfer budgets. Is there any interest from Arsenal for Kai Havertz? Says Rooftop, not happening. He's probably going to go to Chelsea. Arsenal simply can't afford Havertz. More questions on AMN, Maitland-Niles. Tara says, I really want to know if Pepe can speak English. He can speak English. He can understand English, but he doesn't. When the few times that we've spoken to him, he still does it with a translator. But he can speak English, not brilliantly, but he can speak it. Lawazi says, do you watch Arsenal Fan TV? No, I don't. Talking about the kit launch, that's interesting. And when the kit launch will be, there is rumours that Arsenal might play in the cup final in the new kit. I haven't had that confirmed. I hope they don't. I really hope they're playing this season's kit, and then do the kit launch afterwards. Or if they're gonna play a game in it, playing it against Watford, rather than the cup final. I think I think this year's kit's nicer than next season's kit. And if Arsenal are going to win the FA Cup, I really want to see them wearing it, lifting it in this season's kit. Right, I think that's pretty much it. Claude Wu. Hi, Charles. Which one is better looking home kit for you, 2002 or 2004 or 1996, 98? 96, 98. Absolutely loved it. It's my favourite one. I've got it sitting in a drawer right behind this camera there with Bergkamp 10 on the back. It's my favourite kit. I absolutely love it. Right. Prosquito's just sent me a picture of his sat-nav with Charles Watts Way, saying, what do you do to achieve your own road? That's something that's been flagged up to me an awful lot of times. It's down in Portsmouth, isn't it? I know that's that road, but unfortunately it's not named after me. I'm not that big in Portsmouth, unfortunately. But thanks for sending. Right, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, just going through. I'm not seeing anything new here. So thank you everyone for joining me. I've done it into 2 parts this week because of how many questions and comments came in. So like I said, if you haven't seen the first one yet, please do. If you're just watching this one now and if it's been recommended to you or something and you're watching it, then please do head over to part 1, which will be down below in my other videos to watch that. Thank you once again for your support and for your messages and for your new subscribers. Appreciate it. If you don't subscribe yet and this is new, then please do hit the subscribe button down there, and I'll continue to try and keep you as updated as I possibly can with all things Arsenal going forward until the FA Cup final and beyond into the transfer window. Until then, everyone stay safe. Speak to you soon.